Welcome, folks, to our annual Christmas Eve. And this year's what? No Santa Claus? We find ourselves in the living room of Santa Claus's house on Christmas Eve.
As the scene opens, Santa Claus is sitting in his big chair in front of the fireplace. He's wearing his traditional costume, but he has his shoes off. His feet are stuck into a basin of hot water. He is huddled down in a big red blanket, which has been thrown around his shoulders. At the side of his chair is a table with several bottles of medicine with large, plainly marked labels: cough medicine, sneeze medicine, and pills for chills. Santa looks very miserable and begins to sneeze. Mrs. Santa rushes in carrying a big white blanket.
Santa, there you go sneezing again. You ought to be in bed.
Bed? How can you talk about bed when it's Christmas Eve? I ought to be getting ready for my trip.
Here, put this blanket around you.
Mrs. Claus, I will not be coddled in this fashion. I'm getting out of this chair.
Santa starts to get up out of his chair, but Mrs. Claus stops him.
You certainly are not. In your conditions, you need all the rest you can get.
Now listen here, Mrs. Claus. Who is the boss around here? Who wears the trousers in this household?
Oh dear, you are so funny when you're cross, but I don't mind. You're usually such a merry old soul. Now please, sit still.
Mrs. Claus, I will not be.
Santa starts sneezing again.
There, you see what happens when you get excited? You better take some more of that sneeze medicine.
Mrs. Claus gives Santa some medicine. And he makes an awful face.
Awful stuff. After this, I'm going to consider that children have been bad if they don't like to take medicine. I don't blame them.
Feeling Santa's hand, Mrs. Claus says,
"And your hands are like icicles. You better have some chill toast too."
She gives him a big dose. And he sneezes again.
Achoo! You see all this medicine? It's making me worse. How much longer do I have to sit here and dangle my feet in this hot water? I ought to be down in the workshop. The elves are good workers, but without me to direct them, they ought to get into mischief. Why don't they come up here and report?
He turns his head and shouts for his elves.
Jingle, dingle, winky, blinky.
Stop shouting, my dear.
Santa ignores Mrs. Claus, lifts one foot out of the pan as if to get up and yell again.
Holly jolly mistletoe!
Stop it, you'll lose your voice. And don't take your feet out of that hot water.
It isn't hot anymore. It's getting cold.
Well, the elves are bringing more.
What's that? Just as I thought they ought to be down in the workshop getting things ready, packing the sleigh.
Now, all of them are except Jingle and Dingle, but I don't see much sense to it if you can't go on your trip.
Can't go? Woman, what are you talking about? Don't you realize it's Christmas Eve? What would Christmas be without a Santa Claus? I got millions and millions of presents to deliver.
Nonsense. You can't go climbing down chimneys tonight, not in your conditions. Think of the action suit. Why, you'd be sneezing all the dust up your nose.
Santa sneezes again.
Achoo!
And besides, you wake up all the children with your sneezing.
Well, so what? Maybe some boys and girls would like to see Santa for a change.
They never recognize you. Where are your twinkling eyes and your dimples they always talk about? You're an awful humor, and besides, your nose is red.
My nose is always red. It's supposed to be.
But a cheerful red, not a fiery red. Here, blow it.
Oh, very well.
And don't look like such a martyr. I'm only trying to make you better.
Two elves, Jingle and Dingle, run in, enter carrying a tea kettle of hot water and a big box labeled mustard. They look at Santa and shake their heads.
Oh dear, oh dear. Oh, Santa has the sniffles, and it's very sad to see.
If Santa sniffles, what purpose will there be?
Achoo!
Dingle, stop that nonsense. Now quick, the hot water, the mustard.
The elves run to Santa. Jingle pours some hot water in the pan, and Dingle sprinkles some mustard into it from a box. Santa starts to pull his feet from the pan and then jerks them out quickly as the elves pour in the hot water.
Ouch, ouch! It's hot! It's hot! Both of you, get out of here, now!
But Mr. Santa,
We're only trying to make you well.
You ought to be down in the workshop, both of you, packing dolls, packing Drums, packing candy.
Yes, sir. We'll go at once,
And
sir.
send Winky and Blinky up here. I want to report on things how are going in the workshop.
Yes, sir.
Jingle and Dingle run out to fetch Winky and Blinky.
You'll not turn an inch out of this chair until you're better. It's snowing harder and it's colder than ever. I stuck my head out the door once and got icicles.
What's new about that? It's always cold in the North Pole.
But it's worse tonight.
All the more reasons to let me go. I can soon be in a warmer climate.
Yes, and catch double pneumonia. Sudden changes like that are bad for people with the sniffles.
Oh, stop fussing. Why did I have to catch this cold anyhow?
It's your own fault. I told you not to go out last night in the sleigh.
I had to exercise the reindeer. Dancer and Prancer are getting fat. And Comet and Cupid and the rest of them are getting lazy. They had to be trimmed for tonight.
I could have exercised the reindeer.
You, Mrs. Santa Claus, a woman.
Women are doing lots of things these days. All kinds of jobs. It beats me. You go out into the world every year, and still, I know more about what's going on out there than you do.
That's because you're always listening to that radio.
Yes, and I think I'll turn it on now, Santa. It'll take your mind off things.
Mrs. Claus switches on the radio. Immediately you hear the strains of Jingle Bells.
Take my mind off.
'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas would soon be there.
What did I tell you? All the children are expecting me. They're waiting for Christmas to begin. Turn that thing off. It's making me nervous.
I'll switch it to another station.
She does, and another voice comes on.
Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus. He exists as certainly as love and generosity and devotion exist. And you know that they abound and give to your life its highest beauty and joy.
That's what the New York Sun wrote to the little girl so long ago.
Alice, how dreary would be the world if there were no Santa Claus?
Certainly it would be dreary. Of course it would be dreary.
Oh dear, I better turn it off.
Mrs. Claus gets up again and switches off the radio.
I'd like to listen. It's so beautiful, but it's making you nervous.
Naturally, at a time like this. Don't you see? If I don't get started on my trip soon, people won't believe in me anymore. They'll think I don't exist.
Oh, perhaps if you didn't go this year, they'd appreciate you more than ever. After all, you've never missed a Christmas before.
And I'm not going to miss this one. Where are those elves? I thought I told them.
Just then, Winky and Blinky run in, interrupting Santa.
Here we are, Santa. I'm Winky. I'm Blinky.
Never mind. What's the difference? Doesn't make. I can't tell you apart. How are things going in the workshop? All finished? What about the dolls, drums, candy canes, sleds, Nintendo games?
There are millions of sleds and millions of drums, and millions of dolls and sugar plums.
Have you got some of the red-headed dolls?
Oh, yes, Santa Claus.
Some of the little girls like red-headed dolls.
And Holly and Charlie have given all the dolls permits this year. Then, if the little girls take them out in the rain, the dolls won't lose their curly hair.
Fine. And what about the ponies?
The ponies have already been sent on ahead. They're waiting in nearest barns all over the country.
Well, I'll need some long ribbons, yards and yards.
What for?
Well, you can't put a live pony on a Christmas tree, so I'll loop a ribbon around the neck and then run the ribbon through a window and tie it to the tree with a knot.
Wonderful.
Great idea.
Excuse me, but it's very foolish making all those plans, Santa Claus, when you know as well as I do.
Suddenly, two elves, Holly and Jolly, dash in.
I'm Holly,
I'm Jolly.
and we have come to say that we finished packing all the toys. You can soon be on your way.
Santa, tell you, there is no use.
Another interruption as Jingle and Dingle run in from outside with snowflakes all over them.
I'm Jingle.
I'm Dingle.
We're hitching up the reindeer, Dasher and Dancer and Vixen.
And Comet and Cupid and Prancer and Donner and Blitzen.
Just then, the seventh elf, Mistletoe, enters, also covered with snow.
I'm Mistletoe. I have been putting on the sleigh bells. Did you hear them ring? Oh, the sound makes me so happy I could fairly sing.
All the elves begin dancing around the room.
I'm Jingle.
I'm Dingle. I'm Holly.
I'm Jolly.
I'm Winky.
I'm Blinky.
And I'm Mistletoe.
Oh, we made the toys the whole year through for every girl and boy. And now it's time for Christmas, for happiness and joy.
Santa, catching their excitement, tries to get up from the chair.
Yes, of course. It's time for me to get off. It's getting late.
Now, Santa, you stay right there. There in your chair. You know as well as I do that you can't go anywhere tonight. It's impossible.
Nonsense, I have to go.
Come on, oh Santa dear, o'er all the world you'll fly. We'll help you get onto the sleigh, you'll be off in a wink of an eye.
Yes. No, I don't know. I feel dizzy. My head's stuffed up, my nose. Achoo!
There, you see, you're sneezing again. Now you can stay right there in your chair.
But Mrs. Santa Claus,
What about Christmas? It's time for Santa Claus to go.
It's no use. He can't go. You know that as well as I do. Here, let me tuck your blanket around you, Santa.
You mean there won't be any Christmas this year?
Of course there'll be Christmas, but he won't have a part in it. Now, Santa, don't you try to get out of that chair again.
Mrs. Claus tucks Santa in his chair one last time and heads out of the room.
Mrs. Claus, just where do you think you are going?
Never you mind, Santa.
Oh dear, no Christmas, Jolly. I can't believe it, Holly.
Oh, Winky, I'm going to cry.
I know, Blinky, so am I.
Oh, Dingle, what can we do?
Jingle, I wish I knew.
I, Mistletoe, feel so blue.
Santa begins to sneeze again and the elves run to him.
Oh,
Poor Santa, can we help?
No. I just feel miserable. Utterly miserable. No Christmas? Imagine it. No Christmas this year.
No Christmas?
No Christmas at all.
No Christmas anywhere?
No Christmas for the children.
No trim tree.
No filled socks.
No Santa Claus.
But there must be some way. What can we do, Mr. Santa? You ought to be able to figure something out.
I'm sorry. There just doesn't seem any hope.
But Mrs. Claus said there'd be a Christmas, didn't she?
How can there be a Christmas without Santa Claus?
But what did she mean then?
Maybe she's going to send all the presents to the children. Why, yes, through the mail.
Special delivery.
No. That wouldn't do it at all. The children get presents through the mail from their aunts and cousins and grandfathers. They're used to that kind of presents. It wouldn't mean anything to them.
Suddenly, Mrs. Claus enters the room wearing a long, white, bushy beard just like Santa's and dressed in one of his red suits and a cap and carrying a big pack over her shoulder. Why, it's Mrs. Santa Claus.
And she's wearing trousers.
Certainly, I'm going to deliver presents.
But Mrs. Claus, I won't have it. You've got my other suit.
Certainly, I have. As Dingle said, I'm wearing trousers.
Well, I simply won't have it. I won't have it, I tell you. Such a thing never happened in the North Pole before.
Now, dear, don't get so excited. It's very good for your delicate conditions. Lots of women wear pants out in the world, only they call them slacks. I'm going to do your job tonight.
But it's unheard of.
And while I'm going, you and the elves can get Christmas ready in the way I usually do. Here's the list.
Mrs. Claus hands Santa a long list of things to do.
But...
Now, no buts. Roast the turkey, fill the stocking, mash the potatoes. Don't burn the gravy. Well, it's all there. Just follow the directions. I know it's more work than you usually do, but at least you'll be there in the warmth.
I won't allow it. I won't allow you to go.
Would you rather there be no Christmas and have all the children disappointed?
She pauses, waiting for an answer, and hearing none, says,
I thought not. But now don't argue. Lots of women take over their men's jobs when they have to, and I ought to be on my way.
But have you got the addresses? Will you know?
Of course. I'll know. Just stop at every house.
But certain things go to certain places.
I will mix them up, and even if I do, someone might like a surprise.
Yes.
a surprise. Mrs. Claus starts for the door, but turns one more for a last word.
Well, I'm off, and if any children pink, there will be no harm done. I guess I can pass for Santa Claus. Merry Christmas!
The elves all run to the window and relay information to Santa Claus, who is leaning forward in his chair anxiously.
She's climbing into the sleigh.
The
reindeer all calling and prancing now.
She's getting all wrapped up in the big blanket. She looks merry as can be.
Her eyes are twinkling, and her nose is getting red from the cold.
She's off. Here they go. Listen.
In the distance, you can hear Mrs. Claus' voice calling to the reindeer.
Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer, and Vixen on Comet and Cupid on Donner and Blitzen.
Yes, there's going to be a Christmas after all.
Yes, yes. But dear me, I don't know what to think. Of course I'm glad the children were going to have a Christmas, but to have Mrs. Santa Claus take my place?
It's all right.
Just this once.
Just for this year.
Santa thinks this over very carefully.
You never can tell with women. Now she may want to deliver presents each year. You'd be surprised. She's getting more and more publicity. The last several store windows featured Mrs. Santa Claus.
Oh, but you too, I'll bet, Mr. Santa.
Of course.
There'll always be a Santa Claus.
And there'll always be a Christmas. Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night.
Merry Christmas.
Tell me your name and your part.
I'm Haley and I'm the narrator.
I'm Aaron and I'm the announcer.
I'm Emily and I'm Mistletoe.
I'm Winky and I'm Cindy.
I'm Mrs. Claus and I'm Skylar.
I'm Jake and I'm Winky.
I'm Dingle and I'm Steven.
I'm Jolly and I'm Logan.
I'm Holly and I'm Jessica.
And I'm Jingle and I'm Molly.
I'm the first radio voice. I'm Trent.
I'm the second radio voice. I'm Cassie.
Merry Christmas!